Brace yourself, because we're about to unravel one of the most heart-pounding, jaw-dropping moments ever to hit daytime television. Picture this: Courteney Cox, America's sweetheart, the queen of charm, walks into the blazing lights of the View studio, expecting a fun, laid-back chat about her latest projects. But what happens? A vicious, relentless attack that pushes her to the very edge of her breaking point. This wasn't just a celebrity interview gone wrong. It was a fiery, unforgettable showdown that ripped away masks, exposed raw emotions, and left everyone gasping. You have to stick around for this wild ride. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button and drop your thoughts below, because this story will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about live TV drama. The morning star, like any other on The View, the studio buzzed with excitement, the audience practically vibrating with anticipation, as Courteney Cox, the woman who made Monica Geller a household name on Friends, took her seat. Her smile lit up the room, radiating warmth and confidence. She was there to talk up her latest venture, and the hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Haynes, and Alyssa Farah Griffin, welcomed her with open arms. The conversation flowed like a dream, full of laughter and easy banter that felt like catching up with an old friend for nearly 10 minutes. It was a kind of feel-good TV moment that fans live for. Courteney shared updates on her career, her passion, projects, and even tossed in a few nostalgic friend stories that had the audience eating out of her hand. But then out of nowhere, the vibe shifted. Joy Behar, who had been oddly quiet, leaned forward in her chair. Her eyes glinted with something sharp, almost predatory. The room felt it. The energy flipped in an instant. Courteney Joy began, her voice dripping with an edge that sent a chill through the studio. There's something that's been eating at me for years. Don't you think it a little convenient how you've stayed so relevant while some of your friends' co-stars have struggled? The words landed like a punch to the gut. Courteney's smile flickered just for a second as she processed the unexpected jab. The audience held its breath. I'm sorry. What do you mean by convenient? Courteney asked, her tone polite, but laced with confusion. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes searching Joy's face for answers. Joy didn't back down. Her expression hardened like she was savoring the moment. Well, let's get real. She pressed, her voice growing sharper. You've had hit show after hit show since Friends ended. You stayed in the spotlight, kept this perfect, polished image. Meanwhile, some of your co-stars, your friends, have dealt with addiction, personal scandals, financial struggles. It just seems like you've had it easier than the rest of the studio. When silent attention crackled like a live wire, the other hosts swapped uneasy glances. Whoopi tried to steer things back on track, her voice calm but firm. Joy, maybe we should focus on Courteney's new project. But Joy wasn't having it. She brushed off Whoopi's attempt, her focus locked on Courteney like a heat-seeking no. I think this is important. Joy snapped, her tone now unmistakably aggressive. I mean, look at Matthew Perry's struggles. Look at what others in the cast have gone through. And here you are sitting pretty career intact, talking about your latest success. Don't you ever feel guilty about that? Courteney's jaw tightened, her composure clearly tested. You could see her mind racing as she processed the accusation. Guilty about what exactly? She asked, her voice steady but with a spark of defiance. About working hard, about making choices that have kept me grounded. I'm not sure I understand what you're implying here. Joy leaned closer, her smirk almost taunting him. Not implying anything, Courteney. I'm asking straight up. Do you think you benefited from being the safe choice while your co-stars took risks that didn't always pay off? The audience was frozen, the air thick with unease. Courteney's media-trained ass kicked in, but you could see the fire building in her eyes. She took a slow, deliberate breath before responding. Joy, I think your Misha race rising ends. She said, her voice carrying a warning. Each of us has faced our own challenges, made our own choices, and dealt with our own struggles. To suggest that I've somehow had an unfair advantage or that I should feel guilty about my career is not only insulting to me, but it's disrespectful to them as well. Joy scoffed, shaking her head like she was dismissing a weak excuse. Oh, please spare me the diplomatic answer. She shot back. We all know there's a hierarchy in Hollywood. Some people just know how to play the game better than others. And you, Courteney, you've mastered that game. The accusation hung like a storm cloud, dark and heavy. Courteney's hands gripped the arms of her chair, her knuckles whitening. Her carefully crafted facade was starting to crack, revealing a raw, unfiltered intensity. Are you seriously suggesting that my success is somehow undeserved? She asked, her voice dropping to a low, dangerous tone. That I've manipulated my way through my career while my friends have suffered? Because if that's what you're saying, Joy, then we need to have a very different conversation. Joy, either blind to the warning signs or too stubborn to care. Double down. I'm saying what everyone in this industry knows but won't say out loud. She fired back. Some people get lucky, some People get protected, and some people know exactly which buttons to push to stay on top. You've been remarkably good at all three. That was the moment something snapped in Courteney Cox. The warm, polished celebrity mask she'd worn for decades slipped away, replaced by something fierce. And real, her eyes locked onto Joy's, and when she spoke, her voice carried a strength that silenced the entire studio. You know what, Joy, I've been sitting here, trying to be polite, trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe you're just having a bad day, or maybe you have some legitimate point you're trying to make. But I see now that this isn't about journalism or entertainment. This is about you trying to tear down someone who's worked their entire life to build something meaningful. The other hosts were frozen. Whoopi's eyes darted between Courteney and Joy, clearly weighing whether to step in Sarah, and Alyssa looked like they wanted to disappear entirely. The audience was glued to their seats, sensing they were witnessing a moment that would be talked about for years. Joy, perhaps realizing she had gone too far, but too prideful to back down, tried to hold her ground and just asking the questions that need to be asked. She said, her voice losing some of its earlier venom. Someone has to hold celebrities accountable for their privilege, accountable for what Courtney's voice rose sharp and commanding, for working consistently, for making smart career choices, for surrounding myself with good people, for staying out of the tabloids, for keeping my personal life private. Which of these things am I supposed to feel guilty about? Joy's face reddened, her confidence crumbling under Courtney's pushback. But instead of backing off, she doubled down, making a fatal mistake. Don't twist my words, Courtney. She snapped him, talking about how this industry really works. Some people get opportunities handed to them, while others have to fight for scraps. You've been remarkably lucky in that regard. Lucky. Courtney's voice carried a dangerous edge now, her professional mask completely gone. You think my career has been about luck? Do you have any idea what it's like to audition for hundreds of roles before landing one that changes your life? Do you know what it's like to work 18-hour days for 10 years straight, memorizing pages of dialogue, hitting your marks perfectly, dealing with the pressure of millions of people watching your every move? Joy waved her hand dismissively, a gesture that visibly infuriated Courtney. Oh, boo, Joy sneered. You got paid millions to read lines on a TV show. Let's not pretend that's real hardship. The audience gasped, the sound echoing to the studio. Even the camera operators seemed to lean in, sensing they were capturing something historic. Courtney's eyes flashed with an intensity that made everyone sit up straighter. You know what, Joy, she said, her voice now a force of nature. I've been in this business for over 30 years. I've worked with hundreds of people, crew members, executives, actors, and I've never encountered someone with such blatant disrespect for what we do. But more than that, I've never met someone so determined to tear down another person for absolutely no reason. Joy, sensing she was losing control, but too stubborn to stop, made her biggest mistake. Yet, maybe if you spent less time playing the victim and more time acknowledging your privilege, we could have an honest conversation here. That was it. Courtney's composure shattered. She stood up from her chair, her voice rising to a level that reverberated through the studio. Privilege? You want to talk about privilege, Joy? Let's talk about your privilege. You get to sit behind that desk every day and attack people who can't defend themselves properly because they're trying to be professional. You get to make accusations without consequences, throw around judgments without basis, and tear down people's life work for your own entertainment. Whoopi finally found her voice, her tone weak and uncertain. Ladies, maybe we should take a breath here. No, Courtney cut her off, her focus laser-locked on Joy. I'm not done. You asked me questions, Joy. Now I'm going to ask you something. When was the last time you created something meaningful? When was the last time you put yourself out there creatively and risked failure? When was the last time you built something instead of just tearing things down? Joy's mouth opened and closed her usual quick. With nowhere to be found, a comedian, she stammered. I comment on you're a bully. Courtney interrupted, her voice slicing through Joy's defense like a knife you hide behind a guise of journalism or comedy or whatever you want to call it. But what you're really doing is using your platform to diminish other people, and the worst part, you seem to enjoy it. The silence in the studio was deafening. Even the crew had stopped moving, their eyes glued to the drama unfolding before them. Joy, for perhaps the first time in her career on The View, looked genuinely rattled. That's completely unfair, she said, her voice faltering. I'm doing my job. I ask tough questions. That's what journalists do. Courtney let out a laugh that was anything but amused. Tough questions? Is that what you call this character assassination? Because let me tell you something about tough questions, Joy. Tough questions are based on facts. Tough questions have a purpose beyond causing pain. Tough questions come from a place of wanting to understand or illuminate something important. What you've done here today isn't journalism. It's just cruelty disguised as professionalism. Joy tried to rally, her voice weak. I think you're overreacting to some legitimate concerns. Stop, Courtney said firmly, holding up her hand. Just stop. There's nothing legitimate about what you've done here, Day. You came into this interview with an agenda to attack me. And when I didn't crumble away, you expected you doubled down. But hey, Race, what you didn't count on, Joy. I didn't get where I am by being weak. I didn't survive in this industry for 3 decades by letting bullies push me around a camera, captured every nuance of Courtney's expression, fierce, unyielding, and radiating power you want. To know what real privilege looks like, she continued, real privilege is being able to sit in judgment of others without ever having to put yourself on the line. Real privilege is having a platform where you can say whatever you want without consequences. Real privilege is never having to create anything yourself while feeling entitled to destroy what others have built. Joy made one last desperate attempt to regain control. I think you're taking this far. Too personally, this is just television. It's just conversation. No, Joy, Courtney replied, her voice now carrying the weight of years of experience. This isn't just television. This isn't just conversation. This is you using your position to try to humiliate someone for your own entertainment. This is you attempting to diminish decades of hard work with unfounded accusations and petty jealousy. And most importantly, this is you showing everyone watching exactly who you really are when you think you can get away with it. The studio was a pressure cooker. The tension, palpable. Joy, now visibly shaken, made her final catastrophic error. You know what, Courtney? Maybe the reason you're so defensive is because deep down you know I'm right. Maybe you know your success isn't really about talent. The words were a death knell. The audience gasped audibly, and even the seasoned camera operators seemed stunned. Courtney stood motionless for a moment, her expression a mix of disbelief and pure fury. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, controlled, and more terrifying than any shout. Did you just question my talent? Did you just sit there on national television and suggest that 30 years of work, 10 years of friends, multiple successful projects, countless professional relationships, and the respect of my peers is all just some kind of fluke? Joy tried to backtrack, her voice weak. I didn't mean to suggest. Oh, no, you meant exactly what you said. Courtney interrupted, her voice gaining strength. Because that's who you are, isn't Joy? That's your brand. Tear people down, question their worth, make them feel small. So you can feel big, but hey, Race, what you don't understand, and what you never will understand, talent isn't something you can fake. For 30 years, success built on nothing doesn't last 3 decades, and respect from your peers isn't something you can buy or manipulate your way into. The other hosts were speechless. Whoopi looked like she wanted to disappear, while Sarah covered her face with her hands. The audience was captivated, witnessing a moment that would go down in history. Courtney continued, her voice building to a crescendo. You want to know about my talent, Joy? My talent is showing up every single day and doing the work. My talent is treating every person on every set with respect and professionalism. My talent is learning my lines, hitting my marks, finding the truth in every character I play, and making millions of people around the world feel something real. That's talent, Joy. That's what real talent looks like. Joy made one last feeble attempt. I just think people should be more honest about honest. Courtney's voice exploded, making the entire studio jump. You want to talk about honesty? Let's be honest about what this really is. This isn't about my career or my success or anything related to legitimate journalism. This is about you being threatened by someone who's built something lasting while you spent your career tearing things down. This is about your own insecurities manifesting as attacks on people who represent everything you wish you could be but never will be. The camera captured every devastating word as Courtney delivered a masterclass in righteous anger. You sit behind that desk every day, safe in your little bubble, protected by your producers and your lawyers, and your platform throwing stones at people who are actually out. Drop your thoughts below and make sure to subscribe for more explosive celebrity